My name is Daniel Carter. I'm a 20-year-old sophomore at Westfield Christian College. On March 3rd, at 12:41 a.m., my heart quit on the dorm room floor. The paramedics counted 9 minutes with no pulse. When I slipped out of my body, I didn't find a tunnel or a choir. I stood before an open gate wide as a city block where everyday people filed through without a second thought. Then Jesus showed me why hell isn't a far-off punishment, but the end of a path we choose with ordinary decisions. What he revealed shook me, and it changed the way I live. Most people remember big moments because they were loud. Mine started with quiet. The hallway outside our dorm room hummed with vending machine noise and distant laughter. Inside, it was only my breathing and the soft click of a desk lamp. Mark was at the library. My textbooks were open but unread. The night felt like a held note that wouldn't resolve. I grew up on steady faith. Not dramatic, not messy. My dad ran cables at church and fixed our neighbor's Wi-Fi when it broke. My mom taught school and hosted a women's group that smelled like coffee and vanilla. We prayed before dinner, and sometimes the mashed potatoes went cold because my dad remembered someone else to pray for. That rhythm made me strong and gave me blind spots. Strong because I knew where to go when life cracked. Blind because I thought doing the right things meant I was a right person. Westfield looks like a brochure for faith done well. Worship nights that actually fill rooms. Professors who mean it when they say they'll pray. Service projects on weekends that leave you tired and proud. I jumped into all of it. I led a freshman small group, stacked chairs, played guitar sometimes, and said yes anytime a campus pastor needed an extra hand. On paper, I would have hired me to be a Christian. Then I discovered how applause can sound like calling. A panel on campus got heated one night. A student mocked believers as close-minded. My chest burned hot, and I stood up with a voice that sounded steady and smart. Facts, verses, quotes I brought, tools, and used them like weapons. People clapped. An older professor shook my hand later and said, "Thank you for standing." That sentence sank into the soil of my heart and grew fast. I started collecting debates the way other guys collect shoes, threads, clips, long comments that landed like punches. I told myself I was defending truth. Many nights I was defending me. The Tuesday I died didn't announce itself. Coffee in the morning, class, a quiz I probably passed, a workout, then a campus forum on faith and polarization. I walked there with lines already forming in my mouth. Old habit. The room felt like a gym before a game. Everyone knows the playbook, and everyone wants a win. A senior named Hannah spoke from the aisle. Her hands shook. "I'm tired of Christians who equate their opinions with God's will and then call it love," the room murmured. I stood and answered. I said strong things in a calm voice. I quoted scripture and founding documents and stats I'd memorized like memory verses. People nodded. Hannah sat. I felt tall and small at the same time. The sidewalk back to the dorm was empty, the kind of quiet that makes your thoughts louder. I replayed the moment and tried to taste the wind. It tasted thin like gum that lost flavor 10 minutes ago. I walked faster, as if I could outrun that feeling. I couldn't. In our room, I turned off the overhead light and kept the lamp. I knelt because when I sit, I perform. When I kneel, I tell the truth. "Jesus, I want to do this right," I said. "Protect the church. Give us courage. Fix what's broken." Good words. They bounced off a place inside me that knew I was dodging the harder sentence. I don't know how to love her when I disagree. Pain dropped into my chest like someone set down an anvil. Not a warning, a weight. I grabbed air and found none. The lamp smeared into a yellow streak. I tried to call Mark's name and only managed a sound. I slid sideways off the bed and the carpet was the last thing I felt. It smelled like dust and detergent and freshmen. Then I wasn't on the carpet. I was above it, watching a body that looked familiar and wrong at the same time. My hand was trapped under my ribs. My mouth hung open like I was trying to keep a sentence from leaving. The door swung in hard marquees wide, backpack thudding on the floor. His Daniel hitting the wall and coming back. The phone, the numbers, the flood of people, the paddles. My body arched, my chest burned. I felt none of it where I was. Fear didn't flood me. That surprised me. Another feeling did steady, like a hand between my shoulder blades steering me gently. In the doorway, something bright as a promise waited. Not a bulb, not a beam. More like warmth shaped into light. Inside it, soft but clear, I heard my mother's voice the way I hear rain through a window. "Jesus, please. Jesus, please." The words pulled, and I let them. Rooms fell away. The air warmed without heat. I stood in a place that wasn't trying to impress me. The ground glowed like light had roots beneath it. The sky had depth that made me want to breathe deeper. Peace didn't sit on the surface. It soaked everything. I stopped reaching for words, and the silence answered back like it knew my question. He came toward me the way dawn comes, no switch, just more light. No robe that blinded me. New theatrics? Just presence that made every other presence feel like a shadow of this one. The world around him seemed to lean in. My knees found the ground before my mind caught up. I wasn't afraid of him. I was afraid of how much I wanted him. He didn't hurry. He let my chest heave until it settled. When he spoke, it didn't pass through air. It settled inside me like something heavy set on a table. "Daniel," he said, and my name felt safe in that voice. You defended my name, but you did not always defend my heart. The sentence didn't accuse. It clarified. Scenes moved in quick cuts. Miachi maleptopi assembling a reply that would earn praise but bruise a person. Me, a circle praying long prayers that dodged the part where I confess. Me online, mistaking quick likes for real fruit. None of it was cartoon evil. It was ordinary pride in a suit and tie. The scene shifted like someone lifted us above a map. Cities pulsed, highways glowed. People gathered in two tides. One wave held Bibles and shouted truth, with eyes that never softened. Another waved signs and shouted love, while laughing at a cross. Both held a word God treasures. Both had dropped the other word. The sadness in Jesus' eyes felt heavier than oceans and kinder than anything I've known. I understood without extra words. When love and truth pull apart, a wide road opens, and most of us don't notice we're on it. I wanted instructions, plans, a sermon outline. He gave me a way of being. Be with me. That's what landed inside me. Learn my heart in quiet. Speak from there. It sounded small and unsellable. It felt like a root that would hold when storms came. Warmth thinned. The ground tilted. A wind, like a deep inhale, pulled me through a narrow place. Beeping cut in. Waichi. We have a rhythm 9-minute stay with me. A pen light in my eyes. A voice saying my name, like a rope. I wanted to say I saw him, but my tongue was heavy, and the first breath back felt like swallowing fire. Hospital hours don't pass. They drip. My mom's hand on my shoulder felt like home. My dad read psalms that sounded different now that I'd heard the voice behind them. Mark sat in a chair and pretended he wasn't crying. When my words finally came back, the first were not brave. "I'm sorry," I told my parents. "I've been loud. I haven't been loving." My dad didn't correct me. He squeezed my hand and said, "Let's fix that together." Back in my dorm days later, normal looked the same, but my inner gravity shifted. Tweets still called to me. Arguments still itched, but there was a question in the doorway of my mouth. Am I defending his heart or my pride? If I couldn't answer fast, I stayed quiet and let the moment breathe. Silence felt like loss at first, then it felt like making room. I didn't know what came next. I only knew I couldn't run the same plays with a different jersey and call it change. So I did the smallest thing I could think of. I sat in the chapel with no playlist and asked Jesus to teach me the sound of his voice when no one else was listening. The room smelled like wood and old prayers. I stayed until the quiet didn't scare me anymore. Hospitals run on clocks. Campuses run on bells and buzzers. Coming back felt like stepping off a moving walkway and trying to walk normal again. My friends checked in with snacks and questions I didn't know how to answer. The ones who really loved me didn't push. They sat. They let the quiet do some work. Mark became a gatekeeper. When he spotted that old spark in my eyes, the one that meant I was about to argue for sport, he slid my phone across the table, face down. "Not tonight," he'd say. It wasn't control. It was care. You can tell the difference by how your chest feels after I started to change small things before I tried to change big ones. I moved my alarm 10 minutes earlier, so the first voice I heard belonged to Jesus, not a notification. I wrote a list of names instead of a list of points people I'd handled, like projects, people I'd avoided, people I needed to see. It was a short list until I told the truth. Then it ran to the bottom of the page. The gate hovered in my mind, not as a threat, but as a warning label on ordinary choices. I saw it in the cafeteria when impatience flared at a slow line. I saw it in small group when the conversation drifted into everyone else's sins and stayed comfortable there. I saw it in the mirror when I caught myself practicing a sentence for how holy my change sounded. Pride can wear a choir robe. I asked Jesus to show me when my robe had a name tag that said Daniel. Hannah texted one afternoon, "Can we talk?" We met at a cafe with more outlets than chairs and the smell of baked cinnamon that makes people confess things. She ordered tea and watched the steam like it might spell the right words. "My brother Kalib called," she said. He wants to meet. I'm scared I'll bring a debate instead of love. I nodded. That's a reflex. You can ask Jesus to slow it down. We prayed with our eyes open, the way you do when you need to see the person you're praying for. She asked about what I saw, and I told her the part I'd been holding back. The gate was normal. No alarms, no screaming, only a wide entrance that fit a crowd. If I didn't know better, I said I'd think it was a mall. Her mouth tightened. That sounds like my feed, she said. Everyone walking in the same direction without asking where it goes. The forum announced a second round. Flyers on doors, threads revving up. A friend sent me bullet points like I was still the guy who loved the podium. I printed something else. A short guide from my own heart. 3 linies. Start with silence. Ask a real question. Tell the truth about you. The night of the forum, I asked the moderator for 3 minutes of quiet at the top. She blinked, then nodded. Chairs creaked. A cough echoed. The quiet got thick. When it broke, voices were slower. A guy I've argued with for a year said, I'm angry and I'm afraid. I don't like admitting that the room didn't clap. It breathed. Admissions are oxygen. Afterward, a freshman with a nervous smile stopped me by the door. I thought you were going to tear it up, he said. I'm glad you didn't. I laughed. Me too, he added. I didn't talk because I realized I just wanted to be seen talking. That sentence felt like a gift you put straight in your pocket. Not everyone celebrated. A student leader pulled me aside. Don't go soft, he said. Truth needs teeth. I answered slowly, because fast answers can be lies with a good suit. Teeth without a heart bite the wrong people. He didn't like that. It's okay. I wasn't trying to win him. I was trying to keep my soul. I met with a professor the next morning, a man who has weathered a lot of storms without tweeting about any of them. You sound like someone who's been in a quiet room, he said. Stay there longer than feels efficient. I asked him what he meant. Efficiency turns ministry into math, he said. Love doesn't scale. It shows up. I wrote that down and circled it twice. Hannah's brother arrived that weekend. He wore road trip clothes and a face that had practiced being fine. We chose a picnic table under the oak because arguments get tired in fresh air. We started with stories, not theses. He asked questions I didn't dodge. Hypocrisy, harm, why the church feels safer defending ideas than holding pain. Old me would have opened folders. New me opened the one thing I knew I could offer. Honestly, what happened on the dorm room floor and what Jesus said to me in the light. He listened, then scratched his eyebrow like he was trying to erase a thought. If what you're saying is true, he said, then I've met a lot of Christians who defended the name and not the heart. I nodded. You met me? I said. Silence didn't feel awkward. It felt like soil. He didn't decide anything at the table. He did say, thanks for not trying to pin me. That counts. Sleep brought the waiting place back. The floor hummed, and the light didn't come from a source you could point to. The gate was still open. People filed through while scrolling, while composing replies, while planning sermons, while making grocery lists. No one looked up. I stepped backward, wanting to shout. A hand landed on my shoulder, steady as a father. I didn't need a turn. Tell them the sense came. Tell them it looks normal. Tell them it feels like the easier version of good. I woke with salt on my face and wrote the line in big letters on a sticky note. The easy version of good is a trap. Chapel invited me to share again, 5 minutes, and then lead prayer in pairs. I wanted a sermon. Jesus wanted a seed. I said the line and sat down. Students turned toward each other and whispered names to God. No band, no mood music. Just the sound of people telling the truth with someone else listening. Afterward, the dean stopped me in the hall. Whatever you're doing, he said, keep doing it. Conversations in my office feel different this week. Fruit beats metrics. Fruit takes time. Then came the email about older post. The dean was kind but clear. You didn't break policy, but your words formed whether I owned it. I told him my plan. Public apologies where I was public, private where I was private, and a mentor looking over my social posts for a while. He said, that sounds like someone who wants to be pastored. I wrote the apologies. No hedging. No if. I named the pride. Replies were a mixed bag. Some thanked me. Some called it weak. Some took victory laps. I didn't answer every one. I took a walk to remember I have legs and lungs, not just thumbs. The maintenance guy was fixing a door near the chapel. I stopped to say thanks. He looked surprised, like compliments were a language he hadn't heard recently. Most folks only speak up when something breaks, he said. I'm trying to speak up before, I said. We laughed. He went back to the hinge, and I went inside to sit in a pew older than both of us. Prayer night with local churches arrived, and we kept it simple, no cameras, tight on faces, no schedules where leaders ate all the time. Pastors from different traditions washed each other's feet. It was messy in a way that made us all nervous for a second, and then it was right. We broke into circles of 6 and traded first names and burdens. A Catholic student prayed for a Pentecostal kid's anxiety. A Baptist grandmother prayed for my school. We didn't fix each other. We held each other up. Afterward, I sat on the steps and watched students drift back to dorms under a sky punched full of stars. Mark handed me water. "Your voice okay?" he asked. "I didn't use it much," I said. "Good," he grinned. "You're learning." The next morning, an invitation hit my inbox from an event with lights and a script. "Tell the story," they said, "but lean into courage, not confession." I walked to the chapel because that's where decisions don't spin. Which choice keeps me clean? I asked God. The sense was simple. No to the wrong, yes. I wrote a kind decline. Relief ran down my back like cool water. I didn't tell the whole campus what I turned down. Hidden obedience keeps the heart from performing. I made a sandwich, did my laundry, and answered a text from Caleb. He'd read Luke 15. He wasn't ready to sing in church. He was ready to sit in the back. Heaven throws parties for that kind of seat. The changes didn't make me special. They made me smaller in a way that felt like finally using the right size shoes. I kept doing the small work. One name, one need. Ears on, Jesus' eyes on whoever was in front of me. The wide gates still glittered at the edge of my mind, but the narrow door had fingerprints now mine. Hannah's, Mark's, Caleb's, 100 quiet saints who won't trend. And then the phone rang from home. Mom didn't waste sentences on the phone. "It's Grandpa," she said. "He's asking for you." The words landed like a stone in a still pond, quiet but heavy. Mark grabbed keys before I answered. We drove 3 hours with the kind of silence that's not empty. Lines of highway-stitched pastures to small towns, and the radio stayed off because some moments deserved the whole room. Grandpa met us with a half smile that pulled at his wrinkles like curtains. Hospital light makes everyone look thinner. He still felt like a porch, sturdy and familiar. "You made good time," he said. "We hit every green," Mark answered, which was true and not the point. I took Grandpa's hand around wires and tape. Warm, fragile, human. "Don't look at me like I'm leaving tonight," he said. "I've got pancakes left to make." We didn't talk about ideas. We talked about people. He asked about Mark's parents by name. He asked if the RA who lost his grandmother was sleeping any better. He asked if the maintenance guy ever got the chapel door to stop squeaking. Love remembers small details. That's how you know it's love. Later, when the room was ours, he said, "Tell me." He didn't have to say what. I told him all of it: the carpet, the field, the voice, the sentence, the map, the wide road. That's so polite you don't notice. It steals your heart. He didn't blink for a long time. Then he nodded once, slow. "Pride's favorite outfit is a good cause," he said. "I wore it for a season. Your grandma loved me out of it." He wanted prayer more than answers. We asked for steady hands for the night nurses, clear minds for the doctors, and a heart that understood peace deeper than machines. He slept. I watched the monitor thaw and freeze and thaw in green waves and thanked God for electricity and breath. He went home 2 days later with a new pill schedule and a list of foods he said sounded like grass. Before we left, he tugged my sleeve. "You don't have to be loud," he whispered. "Just be near." That felt like permission I didn't know I needed. Back at school, the inbox held an invitation to a big stage. Lights, cameras, a proposed outline preloaded with applause lines. "We love your story," the email said. "Frame it as courage in the culture war." I closed my laptop and walked to the chapel because wood and stained glass tell the truth better than screens. If I want this for me, shut the door. I prayed. If I'm saying no because I'm scared, make me brave. The answer wasn't a sentence. It was a picture of me with a towel in the basin, water catching light, hidden work, quiet hands. I wrote a kind decline. Relief filled my ribs. I didn't rush to fill the space and no left. Small things grew there. The freshman's bike chain snapped, so I walked him to the shop and bought a link. The librarian had a cough, so I left tea bags with a note. The barista, who always spells my name right, got a gift card she didn't expect. None of it earned followers. All of it kept my heart from scavenging for them. Chapel asked for a short testimony, and then prayer in Paris again. I kept it to 3-minute story. Sentence, invitation. Ask Jesus where you've walked. The easy version of good, I said. The room bent its heads like tall grass in wind. When people started to pray, the air changed. Not dramatic, dense. A professor later called it peace that tells the truth. The dean's follow-up meeting went better than I deserved. Students talk different in my office, he said. Thank you for helping set that tone. I told him the truth. I'm mostly trying to stay out of Jesus' way. He laughed. That's advanced discipleship right there. 2 nights later, the waiting place returned. Not to scare me, but to keep me honest. The gate still stood open, wide as a street. Faces blurred into a crowd because no one looked up. I could see beyond it more clearly now. Not flames. Feedback loops. Men in corner offices with no one to call. Women in perfect houses with no laughter in the halls. Pastors finishing sermons and never finishing conversations at home. The common thread was simple. Life without love, repeated forever. My stomach turned. A hand rested on my shoulder, again steadier than fear, firmer than shame. Tell them. The sense came. Tell them the turn is close. Hannah texted the next morning. Caleb read the prodigal story. He's angry at the older brother and doesn't know why. I smiled at my screen. Anger sometimes points to longing, I wrote back. He misses home but doesn't trust it. She sent a single tear emoji and then we'll cook dinner and leave the porch light on. That sounded like gospel to me. We launched something small on campus the following week. 1 name, 1 need. 30 days. Pick 1 person and 1 real need. No posts, no photo proof, just do it. Students like plans. So we gave him a card with 3 prompts. Pray, pay attention, practice. The stories that came back quietly sounded like a different kind of revival. A roommate paid a lab fee for a kid who didn't ask. A shy senior took the long way to class to walk a freshman to a building. He kept getting lost, finding... A professor got 10 anonymous notes that just said, "Thank you for staying. Hidden kindness feels like a secret handshake heaven recognizes." Pushback kept its voice. "This is small ball," a guy said. "We need to change systems. Systems matter. So do the hearts that run them." I told him that. He didn't clap. He did show up to prayer night and sit in the back row. That counts. To saying no kept opening space for better yeses. A local church asked if I'd speak on a Sunday. The pastor looked tired and honest. I told the story short and then asked for something specific. If you've been fighting strangers harder than you've been loving your family, come kneel with me. A middle-aged man stood first and didn't look left or right. Others followed. We made a pile at the front that looked like a quiet wreck and a slow rebuild. The pastor hugged me after and whispered, "I haven't seen tears here in a while." Tears aren't the goal. They're good soil, Caleb texted. I sat in the back row and didn't leave. The sentence tasted like a feast. I told him about the father who runs and how ridiculous that would have looked to the neighbors. He sent back, "I could use ridiculous kindness." Me too, I wrote. Near the end of the month, I walked the campus loop at dusk. The sun folded itself behind brick buildings and the grass held on to the light. A few minutes longer, like it didn't want to let go. The wide gate hovered in my mind the way a billboard does, hard to ignore if you keep your eyes up. Beside it, almost hidden, I could see a narrow door that's easy to miss if you keep moving fast. I stopped under the oak and asked for one thing I could do that wouldn't look holy and would be. The answer was a name. Not a project, a person whose laugh I avoided because it sounded like a dare. I texted him, "Coffee." He said yes, faster than I sent it. Some doors open when you knock once. Back in the dorm, Mark was on the floor working a puzzle like it was an exam. "What's the picture?" I asked. "A lighthouse," he said. Low-hanging metaphor. We grinned. He slid a piece across the carpet toward me. "You're up." We worked without talking much. The quiet wasn't empty, it held something. Near the end, he said, "You look less like you were posing for a picture lately." I nodded. "I'm tired of my angles." He put the last piece in and whispered, "Amen." A week later, the phone rang again. "Mom." Her voice was steady and I heard the river under it. "Honey," she said. Grandpa fell. We made the drive twice in 1 month. The second time, the highway felt shorter and the prayers felt longer. Mom met us in the lobby with a smile that didn't match her eyes. "He tripped on the back steps," she said. Nothing broken, but his heart didn't like the fall. We found Grandpa propped up. TV quiet, a crossword open with a pen resting on 11 down. He grinned like a kid caught with cookies. "You again," he said. "I must be popular." Hospitals, compressed time. You measure days in nurse rotations and the cold part of the pillow. We took turns, so no one sat alone too long. I read Psalms out loud and learned the shape of mercy by how my voice softened on certain lines. Grandpa didn't want sermons. He wanted presence. He wanted stories I'd already told because good stories hold together when you're tired. One afternoon, he He dozed, and I watched the green wave on the monitor like it was a river I wanted to stay in. Mark slipped in with coffee. He wasn't allowed to bring contraband, he whispered, handing me the cup and winking. I laughed too loud and we both shooshed each other. Quiet joy is medicine. Grandpa woke and asked for a walk, which meant a slow shuffle around the ward, pushing an IV pole that squeaked like it missed oil. We passed open doors full of lives, paused mid-sentence. A man stared at daytime TV like it owed him a favor. A woman knitted a blanket for a grandbaby she hadn't met yet. We prayed with our eyes as we went. It felt right to bless strangers without making them perform their pain for us. Back in the room, he pata'd the bed. Sit, he said. Teach me what you saw normally. Heses tell me. Not teach me? The verb mattered. Teaching means I need to understand it well enough to pass it on. I started slow. No adjectives, no halos, just facts that felt like breath. The place, the piece, the person, the sentence, the map, the road that looks right because everyone's on it. He squinted. So hell is not only fire later, it's the life you choose on repeat without love. I nodded. That's what I understood. He settled back and looked at the ceiling tile like it might have written that down. Then the church's job is to interrupt the loop, he said, by loving people where they are and walking them home. I wrote that in my notes app so I wouldn't trust my memory with it. He went home again. We said the kind of goodbye that tries not to act like a goodbye. On the porch, he squeezed my shoulder. The narrow road is not hidden from humble people, he said. It's hidden from hurried people. I stood there long, after his door closed, because I didn't want to forget the way his doorway felt like church. Back on Kapuz, the ground kept shifting under my feet in good ways. The student pastor asked me to help craft something practical for the next month. Habits, not hype. We drafted a simple rule of life for students who wanted it. 3 daily anchors, 10 minutes of quiet before screens. One honest conversation where you confess something real. One unnoticed act of service. Not a law, a lauder. People grabbed it like they were tired of swimming. That week, I dreamed again. Not the waiting place this time. A field after rain. The soil was dark and ready. I held seeds I couldn't name. They looked small, I thought. The voices answered inside. They always do. I woke with dirt under fingernails, joy in a sentence. Plant what you can reach. Caleb texted Hannah and me the next day. I told my mom I was wrong, he wrote. I don't know about church yet, but I know I was cruel. Repentance looks like that more often than not. Short messages that cost a lot to send. Hannah sent a heart. I sent a line from Luke 15 about a father who runs. He wrote, "Don't make me cry at work." I sent a laughing emoji and then prayed for him in a stairwell where no one could hear me be sappy. Invitations kept landing in my inbox, some not. One from a student group that wanted me to debate deconstruction. I almost said yes and felt a check like a hand on the brakes. Debates can be honest. They can also be theater. I wrote back and asked to host a listening night instead. No mics, just stories and prayer. They surprised me by agreeing. 30 students showed up. We put our phones in a basket and our egos on mute. People told the truth about church hurt, about sin, about confusion, about joy. No one won. Many were relieved. On a Thursday, the dean forwarded an angry email with my name in it. A parent didn't tea like that. I talked about love so much. Truth needs to be central, they wrote. They weren't wrong about truth. They were mistaken about love being its rival. I drafted a clear, kind reply the dean could send back. We're centering Jesus. Who is truth and who is love? He wrote, that'll preach, and hit send. The month of one name, one need ended with a quiet gathering. No testimonies and microphones. We put out index cards and pens and invited people to write 2 sentences. What changed in you? And what did you see? We taped the cards to the back wall. I walked that wall and cried in public, which I do now, apparently. I stopped doom scrolling and started praying for my neighbor. I forgave my dad. I cooked dinner for my roommates without Instagram. I asked for help. I slept. That last one read like a miracle. The night before midterms, I felt the tug to go sit in the chapel again. The room was empty, except for the sound buildings make when they cool. I sat in the back and thanked Jesus for not letting me keep the loud life. I told him I was scared of drifting. He answered without words. The narrow door glowing faint beside the wide gate, a reminder more than a warning. I whispered, every day, and felt the agreement settle. My phone buzzed as I stood. Mom, hey sweetie, she said. He fell again. We're headed back. I told her I'd come. She said, wait till morning. Drive safe. The call clicked off, and the chapel felt bigger. I knelt and told God something simple. If you want me at a hospital more than a podium, I'm yours. The peace that came didn't feel like an answer. It felt like company. Mark found me packing. I'll drive, he said. You study, I laughed. You drive like a grandma, he shrugged. Grandmas get people home. We left before dawn. Dawn made the interstate look honest and on neon, just lines and light. Mark drove with both hands, like he was delivering something precious. We didn't talk much until coffee, and even then the words were short and useful. Exit 42 next, right? You okay? We're here. Grandpa was back in a familiar room with a new wristband. He seemed smaller and brighter at once, like a coal that still holds heat. Third time's the charm, he said. I plan on walking out. We prayed like people who want that sentence to be true and are willing to accept whatever God decides if he holds us through it. Midday brought a crowd, my parents, my uncle with his fast jokes, a nurse who didn't hide her kindness. We took shifts like a baseball bullpen. When it was my turn on the chair, Grandpa waved me close. Tell me one campus story, he said. I told him about one name, one need. He laughed. You kids and your slogans. I defended it like a son. It's working, he nodded. Because it's not a slogan. It's a way of seeing. You can do it without the card. He drifted off. I read Psalm 86 aloud. When he woke, he said, I heard the part about unite my heart. That's the whole thing, isn't it? I swallowed. Yeah. I split mine for a while. He squeezed my fingers. God likes to sow. That evening, a storm rolled in. Rain stitched the windows. The monitor hummed. We watched lightning and didn't say much. Storms make people honest. He said, you're going to get more invitations. Some will pay in money, some will pay in applause, some will pay in being needed. You know which one's the most dangerous? Being needed, I said. He nodded. You want to be the guy who fixes it. Don't be the guy who stays. The room felt like a classroom in a chapel. He slept well that night. We went to my parents' house to rest. I lay awake, thinking about gates and doors and how close they can sit to each other. The house held sounds I know by heart, the fridge motor, the AC kick, my mom's light steps. I asked Jesus for the same thing Grandpa heard in the Psalm 1 heart, not two. Morning brought better numbers, and a doctor who smiled. He's trending, right? She said. Relief washed the room like sunlight. We took Grandpa home in the afternoon. He insisted on climbing the porch steps himself. Slow, my dad said. Watch me, Grandpa answered. We watched. Hey, mate. We cheered like he'd finished a marathon. Before we drove back to campus, we sat at his kitchen table with pancakes he shouldn't eat, and still did. He poured syrup slow like a benediction. Daniel, listen, promise me something. I braced, don't preach what you won't do quietly. Don't build a platform taller than your prayers. And if the road gets crowded, look for the door most people miss. I promised with my mouth and asked for help with my heart. Campus met us with schedules and the smell of old books. The student pastor asked me to close the month with a campus-wide night of prayer. Keep it simple, he said. Tell the truth. Point to Jesus, get out of the way. We set out chairs, then took half of them away so people would stand and move. I told the story one last time like I was still kneeling by a bed in a quiet room. No big adjectives, just a gate that looks normal. A voice that told me the truth about myself, and a narrow door I'm learning to take on purpose. Then we did something practical. We invited students to write two names, someone to love and someone to ask forgiveness from. No microphones, just pens and a place up front to leave the cards as an offering. People came slow and steady. Some knelt on the gym floor. Some hugged with that shoulder shake you get when relief comes. We prayed names to God until the sound blurred into one long amen. Afterward, the maintenance guy, the hinge fixer, walked over in his work boots and handed me a folded paper towel. Inside was a verse, scribbled in pencil. Make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. He grinned. Found that one the other day? Felt like your size. I laughed and felt my eyes sting. Perfect fit, I said. I went back to the dorm and sat on the floor because humility likes low places. I texted Caleb, how's the back row? He replied, I didn't leave early. And I sang a line. That's a psalm right there. Here's where the story lands for me. Hell isn't just a later place with heat. It's the end point of 1,000 small choices to live without love. The gate doesn't look scary, it looks familiar. It looks like always needing the last word. It looks like keeping score with people you're called to serve. It looks like a life where applause is oxygen and people become a means to get it. The other way isn't flashy. A narrow door doesn't make headlines. It looks like washing feet when no one sees. It sounds like I'm sorry and I forgive you, and can I carry that? It feels like a quieter heart that still burns. I don't trust myself to pick that door without help, so I keep the practices that hold me close. 10 minutes of quiet before screens, 1 confession a day, and 1 hidden act of service. I call my parents. I thank the people no one thanks. I delete posts that would do numbers but bruise a person Jesus loves. I sit in the chapel until the quiet doesn't scare me. When I fail, and I do, I start over the next morning. Mercy resets more faithfully than any alarm. If you've stayed to the end, thank you. Maybe you see yourself in my mess loud when it feels noble. Tired of arguments, hungry for something real. You're not alone. The turn is closer than you think. You don't have to sprint. You do have to choose. If you want help walking the small road one name, one need, one quiet, yes at a time, stay with us here. Call to action, subscribe, not to build numbers, but to build a habit. Every week we share one hidden story of ordinary cardio student washing dishes for a roommate who's overwhelmed. A son calling his dad. A church praying without cameras. Share this with someone who's drifting toward the easy version of good. And thank you for listening, really listening. May you hear Jesus in the quiet, and may you choose the door that looks small and leads to life.